Hey Scrubs, this is Retro, and this is going to be a lazy review for the 2020 version of Stephen King's The Stand. A lazy review is no script, just my initial response to something and how I feel about it, and things that stood out to me initially. So maybe I'll go back and critique some of the things that I've lazy reviewed in the future, but for now, these are great because it's a way for me to create content that I enjoy making and I feel passionate about very quickly. So if you like this, leave a like or a comment. Yeah, give me a good pat on the back. Thanks, guys. Anyway. So what is The Stand? The Stand is a grand, an epic Stephen King novel about the end of the world, essentially. It's very relevant in 2020. It's about a pandemic that very quickly wipes out 99.99999% of the population. And the story is about how the people that are left alive, how they conduct themselves, and they basically, you know, are they going to be evil people who kill, murder, and rape, or are they going to work together to build a brighter, more successful future? And that is The Stand in its most basic condensed format. I have the book on my desk and it is 1150 something pages long, so it's, you know, lots of different characters, very nuanced. It's amazing, I love it. It's I think it's probably my favorite book actually. In 1994 they adapted it into a TV series which came in 4 parts. Each part was a substantial amount of time. I think the whole thing's about 5 or 6 hours long, but that is amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed that adaptation of it. Now let's look at The Stand 2020 adaptation, which is made by Josh Boone. Definitely qualified for this kind of work. Epic apocalypse stuff. Yep, check. Okay, let's get into it. Now, my first impressions of episode 1 were quite negative, and then these negative impressions were reinforced with episode 2. However, before I kick this to death, I think it'd be a good idea to start with a positive. I thought that the cast choices were exceptional for some of the characters. For example, Harold, oh my god, he's a creepy bastard. He's a mixture of, well, he's portrayed as a mixture of Jim Carrey meets the Joker. I absolutely loved his portrayal of Harold, the actor. I think it's, do you know what, I think my girlfriend told me it's the kid from It that gets killed in the sewer. He's got the long black hair in it, but he is amazing as Harold, this unhinged teenager who's been bullied, and he's quite sadistic and cruel because of it. I think he does a great job at that. I was also really surprised how much I enjoyed Alexander Skarsgard's portrayal of Randall Flagg. I really thought I was going to hate it. I thought, you know, he's too much of a handsome bastard to pull this off. He does an amazing job as Randall Flagg. I really enjoyed him in these first episodes. The other actors were kind of hit or miss for me. I thought James Marsden is amazing, and I would have really liked to have seen him be a bit more of a sullen, frowny face Stu Redman. Stu Redman is this middle-aged man who's a widower. His wife has died in a car crash off screen, you know, years ago, and so he's quite, you know, a quiet man who keeps his cards close to his chest. But James Marsden is quite charismatic and smiley and jokey, and it's, you know, it's the fucking end of the world. So less frowny face, please. Also, didn't really like the portrayal of Franny from her actress. Might be a personal preference thing. She just came across as a mopey, whingy bitch. I think that the show does her a bit of a disservice because in the book and even in the 1994 adaptation, you get quite a lot of time with her and her father and that sort of like sweet father-daughter relationship, whereas here it's just sort of, oh, I'm digging a hole in the garden to bury my family, fuck off everyone, and it's not very endearing. Whereas the other characters we're introduced to have faults, however they are endearing in their own way. I also thought that the actor that portrayed Lloyd, he was really young for Lloyd's character. Lloyd is, spoiler alert, is going to end up being Randall's right-hand man, and he sort of like runs the casino, and this guy's just, maybe it's going to change, but he's sort of like a sniveling, cowardly archetype, whereas Lloyd in the book and the 1994 adaptation is a bit more of a manipulative criminal schemer. This Lloyd's just portrayed as weak and kind of pathetic, so maybe he's going to blow my socks off in a couple of episodes. I hope so. Last thing to say about cast. Why'd you hire Amber Heard? Hashtag love Johnny. So my biggest problem with the new adaptation of The Stand, and something that I noticed a lot, my girlfriend was talking about, because she's never read the book and she hasn't seen the 1994 adaptation, there's a lot of jumping between time, different events, different time in the new episodes. So for example, the new episode starts off about 2/3 of the way through the overall plot of The Stand, and then it'll jump back in time and show you before the apocalypse, during, and then back into the present. That's a really fucking wonky way to do this because the the big kahuna for me is that now there's no tension. That sort of pre-apocalypse where everyone starts to get sick, you start to wonder if all these different characters, and when you're introduced to so many different characters as well, it's a bit like, I don't want to joke myself off, it's a bit like Game of Thrones where you're introduced to sort of like 10, 15 characters, and then once you've been introduced to them, it jumps between them back and forth over a period of time, and then the infection starts to get more serious and people start dying. You're on that journey with them together and you're quite uncertain about what's going to happen, you know, but when it starts off, episode 1, the first thing you see is that they're all together and they're all fine, having a good fucking laugh around a campfire. There's no tension now, so when I see Larry stumbling through New York and there are these armed men with guns, I don't have to worry about it. There's no tension in that scene because I know that he's going to end up in Boulder because I've seen it at the start of the first fucking episode. What a shit design choice. On top of that, it's not signposted very well that these are jumps in time, so I know the plot. My girlfriend had never seen it before and she was saying, what's happening now? Because all of a sudden, you know, we're in the future, but because there are so many people that have banded together at this point in the plot, it doesn't look that dissimilar to now or before the apocalypse. So that was a really fucked design choice. I think you could probably re-edit and re-edit it and have none of that future stuff in there and just start off with everyone before the outbreak and then continue like that. Also, it's really quite fucky, the events that sort of chronologically happen at the start, where, so for those of you that don't know, Stu Redman, who I talked about, James Marston's character, is the first person to have contact with an infected human. You don't see that whole, you see that he's in this military bunker being held under guard against his will for the whole of episode 1, but you don't get that, you don't find out why. You know, you get tidbits here and there, but you don't find out why until the end of the episode. You then have a flashback about 45 minutes into the first episode as a flashback, and you see him interacting with this escaped military person who's got this infection. I think the time jumps are fucking stupid. They don't add anything. There's no payoff for that. It's just edited poorly, and it would be much more coherent for people that don't know the plot to see it in chronological order, because it is quite, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts here. Also, I get the impression that we're going to be introduced to 2 or 3 characters per episode. There's only supposed to be 9 episodes of this in season 1, and so, for example, episode 1, we spent the majority of time with Harold and Franny and a bit of time with Stu. That's 3 characters. Then episode 2, it introduces Larry, Lloyd, and Joe and Nadine. And I just think restarting every episode or going back to the future and then back into before the apocalypse and then their journey through the apocalypse, I just think that it just completely removes any sort of momentum from the plot. God, it's fucking boring. It's like, if you show people what's going to happen at the end and then you jump back to before and it's, oh, there's so much danger. There's no danger. I've fucking seen him. He's having a sandwich at the campfire. Also, it does really curb that sense of momentum of this happened in episode 1. Episode 1 ends with Stu leaving this sort of underground prison complex, and then episode 2 starts in the future again with Larry at the camp. He's safe with everyone, and then it flashes back in time before the apocalypse and we see Larry going through the apocalypse and how he sort of survives and leaves New York. But there's no tension there, there's no urgency, because I know he's going to be fine, and I know that the whole episode is going to be telling Larry's story now. I don't know, obviously it's an editing choice. I think it just would have been more appealing to everyone watching it if you would see Stu and Larry's story and Harold and Franny's story simultaneously happen in episode 1, and then episode 2 you could progress in a natural chronological way. These time jumps, I feel, take away from the enjoyment quite a bit, because a big thing about this adaption of The Stand was that they were saying, well, it's not going to be exactly how Stephen King wrote The Stand or the 1994 version adapted it. There are going to be changes, plot's going to be slightly different. So I was quite interested in that. I thought, oh, maybe Harold's going to go this way or Larry's going to be doing this or this, but you don't have to worry about that, because episode 1, it will show you everyone sat around the campfire having a great old kumbaya. So I've dumped on this for about 8 minutes now. Yeah, so time jumps just absolutely kill momentum. They kill the tension, and I don't like the layouts of the episodes. I think that the actors have done quite a good job. Some of them are directed in a way that I think is quite quirky. Oh god, here we go, we're dumping on it again. So Stu is being held in this underground military complex, and they're trying to do experiments on him to save the world, basically, to create a vaccine. And the scientist that's been assigned to him is like making jokes and things like that, and it's kind of cringy, sort of, oh, you know, I'm just a really handsome guy, and it's just shut the fuck up, guy.
Thank you, sir. I've got it from here. Then you can go get a haircut. Goddamn hippie. Damn hippie. Mr. Redmond, may I call you Stu?
You kept me prisoner here for 3 days. No lawyer, no phone calls. I figure you can call me whatever you want.
Okay. I'm Jim Ellis. My understanding is you've told the nursing staff that you're done cooperating with our work here until they bring in someone who can answer your questions.
Yeah, I think it's time someone tells me what the fuck's going on.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Well, for starters, how come you're not wearing one of those masks?
I'm too good looking.
No! God!
Now let's have a look at the same scene from the 1994 adaptation.
Well, say, if it isn't the man with the little clipboard and the armed escort.
No, we don't shake hands here, just precaution.
A precaution. Uh-huh.
Patty Greer says you've given her quite a bit of trouble. She's quite upset.
Well, that makes two of us. Being hijacked by a bunch of government sons of bitches in spacesuits does that to me every time. So if you don't want to see how quick I can rip a hole in that thing before you can get out of here, you better give me a little information. You tell me why I'm not sick.
Mr. Redmond, I hardly think...
Talk to me, damn it!
I'm sorry, but you... Mr. Redmond, be reasonable.
Just get out of here, you little weasel.
This is a world-ending event, and he's making jokes about how handsome he is, this doctor. Whereas in the 1994 adaptation and in The Stand, the doctor that works with Stu is in a hazmat suit. He's very clinical with Stu, and that creates quite a sense of isolation. You know, he doesn't have this banter that he has in this episode. It's such a strange choice. Also, I thought the effects, oh my god, the effects in this were really quite good. There's a scene where Larry's in a sewer in episode 2, and a corpse bobs by in the sewer and rats start pouring out of its mouth. God, I thought it was amazing. Also, the gore is really well done. On the whole, the effects were just really quite superb. I really liked the representation of the sort of like dreamlike states that the characters have between Randall, Flagg, or Mother Abigail. Don't get me started on Mother Abigail's portrayal in this TV version, because she doesn't even refer to herself as Mother Abigail in episode 1. Weird. Whoopi Goldberg looks perfect for the role. She's got that sort of motherly look to her. It's excellent, but I just think that the problem is, so a big point of The Stand is that all the characters are having these dreams. They're either having the same dream about this elderly woman who lives on a farm, or they're having a dream about this man who's out in the desert. And if you're only doing one or two characters at a time in episode 1 and 2, you don't understand that every character is having the same dream. So it then detracts from it when you see the dream of Mother Abigail. It's not as significant. Christ, I'm gonna have to stop here, otherwise I could go on for quite some time. I think maybe at some point I will do a critique of episode 1 and pull it apart over an hour or two, but I think because it's CBS as well, I think I'd probably get copyright flagged for putting any stuff in, so that's why there's B-roll trailer footage in the background. The book, like I've said, is over 1,100 pages. I'm not sure how they're going to condense it into 9 episodes if they've spent an hour per 3 or 4 characters just introducing them. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Interested to see. I'm going to watch it weekly anyway. On the whole, I think it's looking kind of bleak. I think Skarsgard's representation or version of Randall Flagg is superb. I really like it. Yeah, hopefully it picks up and sort of changes, less time jumps, more cohesion, please. If you've liked this ramble or this lazy review, please consider leaving me a like and a comment. Yeah, #love Johnny Depp. Peace.